Good morning. This is Pastor Larry. It's Wednesday, January 31st. Unfortunately, yesterday I got called away. I had a couple of errands that I had to take care of, helping some people. So I was unable to take care of the Tuesday morning teaching. So I apologize for that. Hopefully we'll be able to be more consistent in the future. But it's an awesome day, great day to be alive. And today we're going to continue Have We Been Lied To, Part 3. And I'm not sure how long this series will go, but I'm associated with El Shaddai Christian Assemblies, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our address, if you want to write us a letter, is 1448 Greenwood Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19150. The phone number at the office at church is 215-927-7188. If you would like to reach me directly, you can reach me at pastor.lshaddai@gmail.com. pastor.lshaddai@gmail.com. So that's how you get in touch with me. I've been talking about have we been lied to, and I was just thinking about some of the things that have gone on in our society and in the culture, and not just our society but around the world. But anyway, today let's read in 1 Kings chapter 10 about the Queen of Sheba. It says, "Now when the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with difficult questions. And she arrived in Jerusalem with a very large caravan, with camels bearing spices, gold in great abundance, and precious stones." And then I'm going to drop down here to verse 13. It says, this is when, after all this had happened, she got to see his wisdom, see how his servants were dressed, how his subjects were dressed. And just, she said, you guys are so blessed. It says in verse 13, it says, "King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba all she desired, whatever she asked, besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. And then she left and returned to her own country along with her servants." We're going to come back to that, but I just want to go over to chapter 11, just because it's goes to show you some of the things that happen in the future, or for us it's in the past. But Solomon, in chapter 11, verse 9 actually, it says, "Now the Lord grew angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. Although he had warned Solomon explicitly not to follow other gods, Solomon did not keep the Lord's command." And if you read, you'll read when Solomon built the house for the Lord, he also built his own temple. He also built a palace for his wife, who was from Egypt, the king of Pharaoh's daughter. And he built their houses, or he built the house for Ashtaroth and for his wife. He built that higher, on the higher hill than he did for the Ark of the Covenant. And the Lord had some problems with that. Anyway, verse 11, it says, "Then the Lord said to Solomon, because you have done this and have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will tear away the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant. Nevertheless, for the sake of your father David, I will not do it during your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son, yet I will not tear the whole kingdom away from him. I will give one tribe to your son for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen." And he left that tribe, he left Judah. That the next generation is when, with Solomon's son, who was born from an Ammonite woman, Solomon's son Rehoboam he became king, and Jeroboam took the other 10 tribes, and that became the northern kingdom. And then the southern kingdom, which was Judah, which is interesting because he left Judah with him, and Judah was where the line of the Messiah came through, the lineage of Judah. So that's interesting the way that works. But I guess I just wanted to show you that because we read about the Queen of Sheba and what she did. And the Ethiopian culture is that when the Queen of Sheba came back, she came back either pregnant or with her son, Menelik, who reigned, and they believed that he was Solomon's son. And Ethiopia has a long history and that's why if you notice later on when they had Operation Solomon, where they did the airlift of the Falasha or the Ethiopian Jews from Ethiopia and took them to Israel. Let's turn to Acts chapter 8. Acts chapter 8. And we're going to talk about Philip, one of the apostles. And let's see. Okay. Acts chapter 8, verse 26. It says, "Now an angel of the Lord said to Philip, 'Get up and go south to the desert road that goes down from Jerusalem to Gaza.'" Verse 27. "So he started out, and on his way he met an Ethiopian eunuch, a court official in charge of the entire treasury of Candace, the queen of the Ethiopians." So this Ethiopian eunuch, who was in charge of the entire treasury of the queen of the Ethiopians, he had gone to Jerusalem to worship, and on his return was sitting in his chariot reading Isaiah the prophet. So an Ethiopian eunuch from Ethiopia goes to Jerusalem to worship. Who's he worshiping? And he's on his return, he's sitting in his chariot reading Isaiah the prophet. How's he know Hebrew? Interesting, isn't it? But anyway, the next verse, 29. "The Spirit said to Philip, 'Go over to that chariot and stay by it.' So Philip ran up and heard the man reading Isaiah the prophet. 'Do you understand what you're reading?' Philip asked. 'How can I?' he said, 'unless someone guides me.' And he invited Philip to come up and sit with him. The eunuch was reading this passage of scripture. He was led like a sheep to the slaughter, and as a lamb before the shearer is silent, so he did not open his mouth. In his humiliation he was deprived of justice. Who can recount his descendants? For his life was removed from the earth." And that's found in Isaiah 53, verse 7 through 8. And so the eunuch asks Philip a question, and Philip leads him to the Lord, and he ends up getting baptized. This Ethiopian eunuch who went to Jerusalem to worship. And so there's a whole bunch around that to be unpacked. I'm not going to get into all that now, but Ethiopia is where the Book of Enoch and the entire Book of Enoch, the Ethiopian church still had that, and they actually have 88 books of the Bible. I believe it's 88, and we have 66. They were the first Christian, quote, Christian church where the nation became a Christian. And they also had Ethiopian eunuch going to Jerusalem to worship, reading Hebrew. And they were Ethiopian Jews, according to history, and the Falasha and the house of Benai, the Benai birth house of, I forget the name now. I apologize. But it seems like things were going on in Ethiopia associated with Israel, which was a little further even than Egypt, where where Israel always ran to. I want to just read a few things, though. We're not going to get down the rabbit hole there, but I want to read a few things. I want to read about Noah's sons. Let's read. We're going to start with Ham. And Ham. Let's see what. Oh, this is the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, and it starts with Ham. And it's Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races. And then it's a semicolon that says, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, the Canaanites. And his indecency goes on about his father, what he did. And but the Ethiopians, Libyans, Canaanites, and Egyptians. The Egyptians were Mitzrayim. That was Ham's son, or Noah's son. I apologize. Noah's grandson was Mitzrayim, Cush, which was the Ethiopians, Put, which was the Libyans, the Canaan, which was the Canaanites. So they say Ham was the father of the dark races, but not the Negroes, which is interesting. Let's go to Japheth and just see what the Bible dictionary says about Japheth. It says, the son of Noah, he had 7 sons, and his descendants occupied the isles of the Gentiles. Blessed by Noah. He was blessed by Noah. But his descendants in Genesis chapter 10, it says, these inhabited the isles of the Gentiles. So Japheth would have been the Gentiles, which would have been, and that's something as well. But that's also, they believe Japheth was the progenitor of Europe and Asia. Let's go to Shem. Shem, it says, is the second son of Noah and progenitor of the Semitic race, was born 98 years before the flood and lived 600 years, outliving his descendants for 9 generations, except for Eber and Abraham. They're the only ones that lived longer than Shem. So Shem was the father of the Shemites. And we're going to go, I want to read something else in a second. I have a question for you, though. Science and biology tells us that in Africa is the widest variation of genes in their DNA. And also that you can only get, like if you had to repopulate the world, the best way to do it, to get all the races, would be you'd have to use someone from Africa, a black man, because all the races came from us. So Shem's the father of the black race, or the dark races. I mean, Ham, according to the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, Ham's the father of the dark races. How would Ham be the father of the dark races unless his father also was dark, which would have been Noah? I'm saying this for a reason. I don't really care per se, but if we've been lied to, I like to know. That's why it's important. And anything that the enemy, who's the father of lies, anything that he keeps going or propagates, I oppose. Yeshua said he came to destroy the works of the enemy. He came for the truth. He says, and if you know the truth will make you free. So the truth is that Ham could not have been the father of the dark races unless Ham's father was also dark. Ham would not have shown up as a dark man if his father wasn't dark as well. So Ham's father was the father of the dark races, or Noah would have been Ham's father, which would have meant Noah was the father of Ham, who was the father of the dark races. So it's almost like being redundant, but Noah was the father of the dark races because Ham was his son. Now let's read here in the dictionary, the Bible dictionary, a definition of something like they said David was ruddy. Let's read this. Let's read the definition of ruddy found in the Bible dictionary. Ruddy, R-U-D-D-Y. It says ruddy is a word used to refer to a red or fair complexion, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. And that word ruddy is found in 1 Samuel 16, verse 12, and also 1 Samuel 17, verse 42, and the Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 10. But I'm going to read that again, because David was described as being ruddy. It says, a word used to refer to a red or a fair complexion in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. And if you look up ruddy, if you look on just Google ruddy and some pictures of what's ruddy, and you'll see a ruddy cow or a red cow or a red heifer. And if you look and see what color that is, it would be something more like, maybe, lighter than me, obviously, but that's because that was considered lighter compared to the dark skin of the Hebrews. So have we been lied to? Why would Ham be the father of the dark races, but not Noah, the father of Ham, the father of dark? And then Noah's son Shem, which was the father of the Shemitic races, which is where the Hebrews came from, It says that David was ruddy, which is fair or red, as compared in contrast to the dark skin of the Shemites or the Hebrews, which would have come from Shem. Interesting. Have we been lied to? Why consistently did the children of Israel go into Egypt when they were in trouble? Jeroboam, the one who took over the 10 tribes, was hiding in Egypt. He married Pharaoh's sister. Why was he in Egypt when he was in exile? Why did Yahweh, our God, the Most High God, have to counsel Isaiah when there was famine? He had to tell Isaiah, don't go into Egypt, because that was their natural inclination. Joseph was sold into Egypt. Jacob moved his family into Egypt. Moses was born in Egypt. The children of Israel didn't become a nation until they were in Egypt. They came out of Egypt as a nation. Now, don't get me wrong. It also said that they came out with a mixed multitude. So everybody that came out wasn't Israelite, but they were able to become an amalgamation and they became Israel. I'm saying that because Yahweh is merciful and he's full of grace, and he wants everybody under his umbrella, but he still has specific questions and specific duties for people. That's why priests have specific duties. Prophets have specific duties. Evangelists have specific duties. Apostles have specific duties. Teachers have specific duties. But he loves all. He doesn't regard anyone above anyone else, but he has specific duties for people, for a nation. He said what he's going to do for his nation, for his children. And if I were the devil, I would not want his children to know who they were, so that they wouldn't be able to do the specific thing that he has in mind for them. Now, again, I said he's merciful. He's inclusive. Israel came out with a mixed multitude. You find that in a few places. He also says in a few places in his word that the foreigner that lives among you, if he subscribes to the same things, if he gets circumcised, if he follows the law, he's to be treated as though he's one of the 12 tribes. So this isn't trying to be exclusive, but I'm trying to be instructive, trying to show that there's something that's been missing. We've been lied to, because there's people, the enemy benefits from it, and there's people that have benefited from lying about who the original people were and where they came from and where they always went to whenever they were in trouble. If you were to tune in during our Sunday services in the month of February, you'll probably get a larger dose of this. But just want to say this. Where did the Messiah hide? Where did the angel tell Joseph and Mary to go to when they were in danger of elimination or destruction by Herod? He said, run into Africa, go hide in Mitzrayim, hide in Egypt, which was populated by the son of Ham, Mitzrayim, who was the father of the dark races, Ham, whose father, Noah, was the father of the dark races, or else he wouldn't have been able to have Ham, father of a dark race, Shem, who was the father of Shemitic people, which is where the Hebrews came from. And they kept hiding in Egypt. You can't hide if you stand out. And it says in the Bible dictionary, the Zondervan Bible dictionary, that Ruddy, which is how they describe David, he was fair. They described him that way because he was a little different than the normal. They described him, it says, fair or red complexion, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. So, just something to think about. Again, does the color of Yahweh make a difference? Yes and no. I'm going to serve him no matter what color. Before I knew some of the things I know now, I was serving him. Didn't stop me. And it shouldn't stop you. But if color has been used to decide instead of describe, and it's decided the fate of people and nations and a community, if it's been used to decide instead of describe, it's been used for a reason, to subjugate people and to do some things to people in the best interest of Satan and not Yahweh, then that's why it makes a difference. So stay tuned, and if you want to tune in during this the month of February, which is Black History Month, I'm going to be sharing some more things on which I usually share on Heritage Sunday, but I'll be sharing more things throughout the month of February, which is Black History Month. And again, this isn't to divide. It's only to describe who people are and what they should be doing. Because if you don't know who you are, you won't do what you're supposed to do. So with that, shalom. Love you.